Join us at the Pahrump Nugget Hotel and Casino with the #1 gaming experience and entertainment. The Pahrump Nugget has the #1 dining experience at Stockman Steakhouse, Golden Harvest Cafe, and the Gold Miners Buffet. Come get your game on at the Pahrump Nugget Hotel and Casino.
News 46 is brought to you by Team Ford Lincoln, the #1 new volume Ford sales leader in Nevada for 5 years running. Team Ford Lincoln, US 95 and Ann Road. TeamFord.com.
Happy weekend, everybody! I'm Mr. Movie Phone with your weekend movie preview. This week at the movies, might be time to pull out those rubber pants if you're going to the theater. And what's very, very old is new again in Jurassic Park 3D.
Must go faster.
Yes, it's a 3D retrofit of the 1993 Spielberg classic. The T-Rex, Velociraptors, and the rest of the cloned dinosaurs are more real than ever as they escape from their enclosures and hunt down a group of visitors to the island. The real deal? Well, 20 years later, the special effects still look better than 90% of what you see today. I don't know that the 3D does all that much for it, but it was great to see this dino-sized movie again on a dino-sized screen. I'm in! It's the remake of a 1980s cult classic, Evil Dead.
I read a passage from that book. I released some evil.
5 friends head to a secluded cabin on a detox mission where one of them finds a book of supernatural lore. Don't open that book! But of course they do, which summons the demons, and things get pretty ugly from there. The real deal, gruesome, super bloody, and scary as all get out. Fans of the original will like it, and bloodthirsty horror fans will love it. I'm in! Also in theaters, Julianne Moore in Sick Souls, a horror thriller that someone decided was a good idea to open against Evil Dead. You're fired. All right, remember, for your showtimes, your tickets, my 6-second review, so much more, go to MoviePhone.com or tweet me right at 6-second reviews. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you at the movies.
That's a wrap.
Welcome back to News 46. Connecticut Governor Daniel Malloy signed what advocacy groups call the strongest and most comprehensive gun legislation in the nation. The new law bans some weapons as well as the sale or purchase of high-capacity magazines like those used in the Newtown school shooting in December that left 20 children and 6 adults dead. It also requires background checks for all gun purchases. With the governor's signature, Connecticut became the 3rd state to pass such tough measures since the December rampage in Newtown. New York and Colorado passed gun control legislation limiting magazine capacity, among other provisions. Similar legislation appears stalled in Congress despite overwhelming public support for background checks and substantial, although diminished, support for major gun restrictions in the wake of the Newtown killings.
Deanna O'Donnell brings you your news across Nevada.
Nevada's jobless rate dropped to 9.6% in February, down from 11.8% a year ago, and marking the biggest year-over-year decrease among states. A report from the Nevada Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation says about 132,000 Nevadans were out of work last month. That's a decrease of 600 from January and 31,200 from February of 2012. In Las Vegas, the unadjusted rate was 9.8%. The employment rate in February was 10.1%. In the Reno-Sparks area and 10.7% in Carson City. The seasonally adjusted national rate is 7.7%. State lawmakers are set to consider enhancing the sexual conduct laws governing relations at schools. 2 bills were presented to the Assembly Judiciary Committee on Tuesday. Current law says school employees or volunteer positions of authority cannot have sexual relationships with students currently enrolled at the same school. The first bill, AB 261, expands that provision to former students who are still minors at the time of the act. A separate measure prohibits the employee or volunteer from engaging in sexual conduct with any minor the person comes in contact with through their duties at the school. Nevada's minimum wage will remain unchanged for the upcoming fiscal year that begins July 1st. For workers who receive health benefits from employers, the hourly rate will remain at $7.25. The hourly rate for workers who do not receive health benefits stays at $8.25. Nevada voters in 2006 approved a constitutional amendment requiring that the state's minimum wage be recalculated annually. Rates are adjusted by comparing increases in the federal rate over $5.15 per hour or the cumulative increase in the cost of living, whichever is greater. While the cost of living adjustment for this year increased over last year, it's still less than the increase in the federal minimum wage that took effect in 2009. Governor Brian Sandoval says he'll propose ending mandatory furloughs for state workers beginning next year. Employees have been forced to take unpaid days off since 2009. Sandoval's initial $6.5 billion general fund budget proposal included reducing unpaid days from 6 to 3 in each of the next 2 years. But in a letter sent to state workers on Monday, the governor says savings from lower employee benefit premiums will free up money to put an end to furloughs beginning July 1st of 2014. Sandoval's budget also includes restoring merit pay increases next year. I'm Deanna O'Donnell. That's your news across Nevada.
The dates for the Fall Festival have been announced. The town of Pahrump is planning this year's Fall Festival for September 26th through the 29th. The annual event will be complete with entertainment, vendor booths, a parade, rodeo, arts and crafts, and the Davis Amusement Carnival. Anyone interested in entering the parade can pick up an application at the Pahrump Town Office or the Chamber of Commerce. Anyone interested in performing at this year's Fall Festival, please contact the entertainment coordinator, Rodney Camacho, by phone at 513-6569. If you're interested in volunteering at the rodeo, please contact Mrs. Marilyn Dolan at 727-9098.
Well, Donna Cooper was well prepared for her day trip with her daughter and family friend to Scotty's Castle in Death Valley. A small detour ended up putting the trio in a life-threatening situation.
We had a woman that lived at my house who worked for Pahrump Valley Times.
Yeah.
And we told her that we were going for the day, but she didn't think anything of it because I'm a vagabond and, you know.
Well, you seem like you did all the right things and just got lost. But unfortunately, in this climate and this terrain, getting lost, ends up doing what? That night you start running out of gas.
We ran out of gas. Yeah. And the next morning, my daughter got out and she walked for like 2 hours in the same direction that we were headed to see if she could see anything. Like we were so high up in the mountain, maybe she could see a town or maybe she could see cars or houses or anything. And after all that, she came back and she said, all that's there is more of the same. She said, we have got to turn around and go back. And I said, but the car doesn't start. We had tried to light a fire and the cigarette lighter, the car has to be running for it to get hot enough to actually ignite. Otherwise, it's only like really warm but not hot enough. Yeah. So I said, okay. So we made a sign in the road with our emergency vest and the emergency triangle thing and, wrote, an arrow and stuff and help and got in the car and miraculously the car started right up.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I said to the girls, if we can just go like 1 mile, if we can squeeze 1 mile out and go back to where there's 2 roads intersecting, we'll have 2 chances of being discovered instead of just 1. Yeah. So we started driving, and we kept driving and driving and driving, and it was scary because when we got up on that mountain that night, it was dark. But if I had seen where we were, it was terrifying. We were right on the edge of a huge cliff. I mean, like 5 stories straight down. Wow. It was scary. And then, I don't know if it's the same road that we got in there on or what, but the road was like these really deep down dips and then up and down and up. And the only way that I could be sure that we would have the momentum to get up the other side is to go like 40 miles an hour. Yeah. And it was all rocks. It was tearing the bottom of my car out. But I knew that if we got stuck at the bottom of one of those, that would be the end of our lives because we'd be down there. There'd be no shelter, no water, no way to get out. So we just kept going and going and going and going. And then off in the distance, we saw the big trees. And we had seen a mailbox on the way in with a note inside that said, "Sorry, we missed you. We're under the big trees. Come back anytime." But from where we were, we couldn't see anything except for trees.
Now stay right here. We'll have more local news right after these messages.